Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Friday, October 21, 2022. Well, our 1950 22-foot Shepherd Runabout looks a bit different this morning. Now that we have completely stripped her bottom off of her, the good news, and there is good news, is that the chine frames on both starboard and port are rock solid and do not need any work of any sort. The bottom bow on the transom is also rock solid. We will be working really hard to try to get this grease in this section removed. The keel is also almost completely solid. There is a section up here, you see where it's hogged ever so slightly right in here, that we may have to insert a replacement, or we may be able to do what we need to do with a Dutchman repair. The stem is solid, and again, we'll use some 3M premium marine filler to finish in and smooth the stem, but the stem is in great shape. Up here, the frames are really excellent, but you see we do have this problem. And unfortunately, we have lots of this problem. Right? Somebody has been in here because the bottom we took off was not an original bottom. Indeed, whoever did this must have worked on it pretty aggressively, because the inner skin was 3/8 marine plywood, and it's questionable whether or not it was even marine plywood. And then a dry sheet of good old-fashioned tent canvas was laid down, which was still in pretty good shape. So that didn't happen all that long ago. And the boat was planked on the exterior with totally new planking. Because that we need 3/8 plywood, and we're in the era of supply constraints, we are scurrying about trying to find 3/8 Aquatech. Our supplier has identified a source, so we should have that coming. But you remember right at the beginning, we were concerned about the amount of grease and oil that was in the bilge, and we pressure washed it, and it actually cleaned the sides of these frames pretty well, except right along the bottom of the bilge, where we are facing the issue of really so much grease, so much oil, that when we get out our scraper and scrape it, yes, we can seem to clean it a little bit, but then within very few minutes, it's back again. So the result is, not only is this frame terribly oil soaked, but as you can see, it's not even in one piece anymore. This will be replaced. This one's going to be replaced. This one has to be replaced all the way across. This one has to be replaced. School is still out on this one. except that the other thing we discovered, and you can see where we have new fasteners, whoever put this back together, I guess, was kind of lazy or trying to save on screws, because a lot of these guys were just floating. This one will most likely have to be replaced. I would say this one's going to be replaced. This one's going to be replaced. The next one, and then the one after it, right, we thought we could save. I think this one we can save. Now, how do we know this is a new one? 3/4 of an inch, an inch and, let's say, 3/16 thick. And the bridge block is entirely different here than it is elsewhere. And similarly, we looked at this one and said, oh, that one's probably good, until we put a hand on it, and whoever put this together not only used comfort washers, which is absolutely mind-boggling, in the through bolting, they didn't bother to even secure it at the chine. This one we hope we can save. We're just not sure here. It's got an awful lot of grease. See, this is in some sense the lowest part of the bilge, and water keeps working its way forward, and the result is that it's floating the grease with it. The water evaporates, the grease does not, and the grease finds its way into the wood fiber. This guy we don't have to touch. All right. All right. School's still out on that one. But at least she is straight. She is true. When we finished reframing a good part, I'd say probably 60% of the bottom will end up being reframed. We will use oak, not mahogany, and we will use, at a minimum, full inch thick white oak, not bare 3/4 inch. I know this is nice and deep, and it's getting strength from that, but in my world, I'd like to see a beefier set of frames here, especially these intermediate ones. Right? We may make these 1 3/4 inches. Somebody has so badly blossomed the rudder shaft that, try as we may, unless we decide to completely tear all of this apart, we'll be working around this rudder. You can see it only moves with great difficulty now. We will be lubricating that, but it's just, we're going to have to work around it because it will not release. These carriage bolts, of course, will all be replaced. Depending on where we are with this, my instincts are to pull this plank, this support plank, because it's so grease-sodden, and replace it. And of course, we see the cotton roving, the dumbest strategy in the world for combating water infiltration. All this does in this kind of construction is open your seams further, and the cotton soaks up water, and then it not only rots, but because it opens up the seam, it just admits more water. So your well-intentioned efforts are actually working against your goal. So that's our update on a 1950 22-foot Shepherd Runabout Acra on Friday, October 21, 2022. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.